Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to this Explain Live how-to tutorial. In today's video, we're not actually going to be flying at all today. We are just going to be, I'm going to be showing you how to program the FMC on the Zibo 737-800. A few of you have been asking how this is done. So what I'm going to do is take you from step by step from how to plan your flights using a free website called SimBrief, and then from there how to program it into this FMC so that you can get up off the ground and start flying around in relative ease, I've got to say. So let's jump into this then. So when you're planning for a flight, you're obviously going to need to plan the flight out so you know where you're going to be going. So for this, what I use is a program called SimBrief, or a website called SimBrief. Now this is a free to use service. You do have to sign up to it, but once you do, it saves all the flights that you've done, and you can go back and check them at a later date, which is quite useful. So when you sign into this, what you'll see is dispatch system. You can click here to create a new flight, and then basically we start filling in this top box here. So if you want to put an airline number in, you can, flight number, all that good stuff. Then you put your departing airport in here. So we're going to go EGFF because I'm in Cardiff Airport, and we will go to LFPG, which I believe is Charles de Gaulle. Double check that. LFPG. Yeah, Charles de Gaulle. Now the reason why I'm using this one is because if we come down to the routes, we're going to be using a combination of airways and waypoints, which is what we want. So it's going to automatically generate an alternate airport for you if that's what you want. And here you can see the weather information if you just hover your mouse over here, so you'll be able to see what weather's like at the moment. You can put in departing time if you want to. I just generally leave that alone, to be honest. Next, you need to say what sort of aircraft you're flying. Now, if you go into My Fleet, you can save some aircraft that you normally use. So I've got the 737 already saved here, but if you have a look down this list, we've got pretty much every plane that you're likely to need when you're planning for your flight. So I'm just going to select the 737-800 because that's what I'm in at the moment. So we're just going to click on that one. From there then we've got optional entries if you want to. So, excuse me, time, departing runways, arriving runways if you know what they are. These are generated automatically. Who you are. If you want to fly at a certain altitude, you can change that from auto to the flight level. You can specify how many passengers you want to take with you, how much cargo. So let's take 5 tons of cargo. So if you're, I would recommend leaving that on auto unless you know exactly what it's going to be. From there then, the rest of this can be more or less left alone depending on what you want to work in. So if you want to work in pounds or kilograms, then you can select here. I'm going to work in pounds. And I'm going to take a reserve fuel of 40 minutes. That's generally what I take when I'm doing my flights, 40 minutes. That'll give me a chance to go around at least once if I need to. From there then, what we're going to do is we're going to click Generate OFP and confirm yes on that. So what this is going to do is it's going to generate a, we're going to generate a flight plan for us. So here we got a summary. Airline number, flight number 9, because I don't fill it in. Aircraft B738. Origin EGFF. Destination LFPG. Alternate EBBR. We're going to go up to flight level 230. Date time is going to take us about an hour, roughly. We're going to take 13,000 pounds of fuel with us. It's saying 0 extra pounds, although it will change that when we look at the actual brief. Then we've got routing, and then we've got DX remarks, plan optimum flight level. Tell us what air rack it's used. whether we're using pounds or kilograms. And that's all the information that you need from that particular page. If we come down then, we've got the actual briefing. Now what I prefer to do with this is come up here and click on Print View PDF. If I click on this, hopefully you'll be able to see it on the screen. Yep. What you'll see is the actual flight plan. And this is more like what the pilots would actually have in flight. And this is what we're going to use when it comes to programming the FMC. So you're going to have to bear with me a little bit because I'm going to be jumping back and forth between this and the FMC within Flight Sim. So let's go back into Flight Sim now. It's going to play the VT again. Going into that. There we go. Okay. So here we have the FMC now. with the default 737, you have to put the fuel in the weights and measures, weights and balance, sorry, menu up here. But with the Zebo, we don't have to do that. With the Zebo, we can do it all through the FMC. So what I'm going to do is go into Extras, Fuel and. This is done it in kilograms, so I don't want to do it in kilograms. So units, change that back to pounds. Extras, fuel and. Total fuel tank, pounds, left, center, right, and then payload and center of gravity. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to SimBrief. And we're just going to scroll down to this page here, page 3, it's normally on. And here we can see our weights that we need to know. So, this time I've got 47 passengers, 5 tons of cargo, payload of 15.8 total. My zero fuel weight is going to be an estimated 107.7, and fuel, we're going to be taking 13.1 plus an extra 31. That's going to give us 44.2. That's the number that I need to put into here. So, very simple. All I do, 44.2. Click on the total fuel in tanks, and then we can see that it's split it. So I've got full tanks left and right, and 27, which is pretty much full, in the center tank. What I need to do then is payload 15.8. So I'm going to put that into payload here. 15.8. Now I normally leave the center of gravity as is purely because I haven't got that number. We would normally get that off of the briefing sheet that's given to the pilots once the plane is fully loaded. So we don't have that with us now, so we can't put that in. So that's that page complete, and we can just double check up here. 27 pounds, just over 8.5, just over 8.5. So that's all good. So what I'm going to do now is go to the init, and you can't see any of that. That would help, wouldn't it? There we go. So what we've done is we put the 44.2 in this one, 15.8 in this one, and we've left CG on its own. So we're going to go to the init reference page now, and this is asking me to basically tell the ILS where I am. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in EGFF for Cardiff Airport and click on Ref Airport. So we're going to click the second button down. That's giving me a longitude and latitude. So click on that to copy it down into the scratch pad, and then what we want to do is where it says set IRS position, we want to click the button next to that, and that's going to copy this longitude and latitude into that position. And what you should see once that's done are your displays showing the correct information. If you want to, you can put your gate number in there. I don't tend to do that. And then we just got to double check that this matches up with your simulator. So 1213, 1213. So that's all good. Next we're going to click on route. So it's already already populated my origin airport for me. Now I've got to put in my destination airport. So for that we're going to be putting in Charles de Gaulle, which is LFPG. Put that into destination. Next we are going to go into the DEP-R, which stands for Departure and Arrival. Now this is where we're going to start to plan our route out. So I'm going to jump back over to SimBrief. And if you're using ATC, you would obviously listen to the ATIS to find out what the active runway is. But if you're just flying on your own, then SimBrief gives you all the information you need. So from EGFF, we're going to go runway 30 and we're going to go direct. So click on EGFF depart, runway 30. Now we're going direct to Alvin. If you had a route that gave you a SID, which is your standard instrument departure, then you could select one. So let's say we were using the BCN 1A SID, and again you get that from ATC. And we have a look up here. We've now got some waypoints being drawn in, but they're a dashed line, which means they haven't been confirmed yet. Once we've done that, I'm going to go back to RTE, or route, and I'm going to click next page. And again, I've got to get used to doing this. I'm not used to swapping back and forth like this. Right, so we put an LFPG up in here. Let's do that again. We're going to go to depart arrival, EGFF depart. What you'll then have is this page. Select your active runway, so runway 30. Select your SID. And if there is a transition, you can select that as well. From here then, so we're going to go back to route, next page. And this is where we're going to use SimBrief. And basically what we're going to be doing is inputting all of this into the FMS. Now say we're going to use all of it, we're not going to put directs in, and I'm going to show you why now. So I'm not going to put this on screen. I'm just going to read it out as I do it. So from runway 30, we are saying that we're going to use the BCN 1A transition, which will take us to BCN. From there, we need to go direct to Alvin. Now, Alvin is a waypoint, so it goes on the right-hand side of the screen. So just type in Alvin, A-L-B-I-N, and then click on the button next to the dash line on the right-hand side. Just give me the options. They'll always give you the closest one to you at the top, so just click on that one. Now, if you have a look, it's now saying that we are going direct to Alvin. That's what we want. So what is next? Next, we're going to be using a airway, and the airway we're using is called L9. Airways go on the left-hand side, so we're going to go L9. Pop that in there. And it's saying we've got discontinuity. Now, if you imagine airways as being like a motorway or a freeway, so at certain points you need to get off the motorway in order to get to your destination, and that's exactly the same with the airway. So we're basically saying at Alvin we're going to get onto the L9 airway, or the L9 motorway if you want to think of it that way, and we want to get off it. Instead of having junction numbers, we're going to get off it at CPT, which is a waypoint. So CPT, and because it's a waypoint, it goes on the right hand side, and that disco is now gone. From there, it's telling me I've got to go DCT, which is direct, to WOD, W-O-D. So I'm going to go W-O-D. and because that is a waypoint, we put it in there. Now the way you tell whether or not it's a waypoint or not is basically you would never go direct to an airway. So if you see DCT and then the next name, that means that next name is going to be a waypoint and not an airway. So the next thing we've got to go on to is UM605. There's no direct, which means that is going to be an airway. So our next motorway, if you will. UM605. And we're going to get off that at buybacks. Okay. Now having a look at my sim brief now, we are pretty much done. The only one that we haven't done is this Biba 7D, then LFPG runway 26 right. And that's because that is going to be the star, the arrival into the airport. So what we're going to be doing is going back into depart and arrival. We're going to go to LFPG and we're going to click on arrival. Now what we're going to look for is a star. Now if your nav is out of date like mine is, you may not have 7D. So it might be 6D, 5D, depending on how old this is. Now luckily for us, 7D hasn't changed for a while, so we've still got it here. So Biba 7D, we're going to click on that one. That will then limit the amount of options that you have on the right hand side. Now we're looking for runway 26 right, so what we're going to do is click on next page, and here it is here. So we've got our options. We can either go VDM 26 right. I'm not going to do that. I want to go ILS because I want the plane to fly itself as much as possible. So we're going to click ILS 26 right. It's giving me transition options. Now this is basically how you get onto that approach. ATC will give you a transition if there is one. They'll tell you which one to use. And you can see there's quite a few. We've got 3 pages of transitions here, so it's really up to you if you want to use it or not. I'm going to throw that one on just for the sake of it. And again, you can't see any of that. There we go. Okay, so just to go over that again so you can see it. So we're using the Biba 7D. Scroll through the next page, ILS 26 right, and then if you're given transition, you can select the transition. What I want to do now is click on legs, and what I'm looking for is what's called discontinuities. So I'm going to scroll through. I'm looking for discontinuities, and I'm also looking for vectors. Vectors basically means you are going to be told where to go, and I want to get rid of those if I can. I think in this case we are going to be okay. So we've got no vectors, we haven't got any discontinuities. If you do get discontinuity, all you do is you click the button next to disco, and then you click the next button up above it, and that basically gets rid of that disco. So what I want to do now is click execute, and if we have a look at this, we've still got that dashed purple line. Okay, when I click execute, where's my route gone? That's good, isn't it? I've just lost everything. Right, let's quickly do this again. Always when you're trying to show it, does it go wrong? But this is a good example of how to fix it. So basically, I think because I took out the I took out that approach, it's reset everything. So it's just a matter of putting everything back in. And luckily this is a short route, so it shouldn't take as long. But again, these are the sort of things that I faced when I was learning to do this. These little quirks of the system, trying to figure out why things are doing what they're doing. Once you get to the end of page 2, if you need more space, all you do is click page 3 and you can continue to input the information into there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go and click activate. That's then going to illuminate execute. And now you can see that our dashed line has become a solid line. And that's what we want to see. The next thing that we need to do is just to check that route. So if I come up to here and I put this over to plan, we can zoom it in a little bit with this dial. We go back to legs. What we'll see now is we've got step. This allows us to step through the route and just to check it, make sure it's all okay. So I'm just looking to see any breaks in the line. That'll indicate we got a disco or discontinuity. And we're looking to see if it does anything weird, which it doesn't. So I'm okay with that. Once you check through your route, put this back onto map. If it'll let you. There we go. And we can move on to the next step. So I'm going to click on route to bring us back to page 1. And then what I'm going to do now is click perf init. So this is where we're going to start setting the airplane up for takeoff. So click on this first button here and it's going to give me my gross weight. Zero fuel weight. If you remember, our sim brief was telling us what the zero fuel weight should be, and it's saying 107.7, and if we have a look at this, 107.1. That's close enough. Sim brief also told us how much reserves you're going to take, so that was 31. Now the cost index is basically how efficient is the plane going to be. Alright, so if I go back onto sim brief here, you can see on the very first page, we got cruise sys here, CI 43. That's your cost index for this particular flight. So it's cost index 43. Okay. Now we're going to put in our cruising altitude. Pop back over to SimBrief. And in our first page here, we've got flight steps, EGFF 230. And then we're going to be cleared up actually to 350. I thought we were only going to be at 230, but it's actually saying if we want to, we can go up to 350. So this is what it's recommending as well. So we're going to go to 350. So flight level 350, pop that in there. Altitude constraint at MOPA, no problem. So that's basically saying that we're going to be constrained at MOPA, so we're going to have to adjust our height. To get rid of that message, just click clear down the bottom here. Okay, altitude constraint at Colviv, okay, clear that one off as well. So we've got flight level 350, cost index 43, reserve 31. You can put in your plan. I've never managed to get that to work though, so if you can figure that one out, put it in, but I've never managed it. You don't have to fill this stuff in. You can do if you want, and if you want to know how to do that, I'll do a separate video on that at a later date. So what I need to do now is execute that. So I'm going to click on the X button, and the reason I know that I have to execute is because this little bar above the button is green. That's basically telling me I've got to press this button for it to work. So once I've executed it, the light goes out. That tells me it's all good. Next we go into the N1 limits. So this we're going to need a bit more information for. So This first section here, we need to tell it what the temperature is outside, and the way we get that is here. 15 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a /, because we want to put it into this box here. 15. If we want to derate our takeoff, we can do here by selecting this. I'm going to leave it as default. The rest of it I can leave as is. That's not going to be a problem. Click on takeoff. We're going to say flaps 5. We're going to click this button here, and this will give us our center of gravity. And it's also giving me my trim. So trim, it's saying I've got to be 5.97. So I'm going to come down here. Here's my takeoff trim. 5.97 is going to be about there. Doesn't have to be exact. Next, it's recommending our V1, VR, and V2 speed. So to implement those, all you do is you click the buttons next to them. So this is basically saying at 141 knots, I'm going to rotate, and at 151 knots, that's going to be our V2 climb speed. And that is it done. That is now ready to fly. Okay? Your FMC set up, your plane is set up. All you got to do now is get the rest of the plane set up and ready to fly. What I tend to do is make sure all of this is set up. So I'll set this to my V2 speed, which is 151. So IAS goes to 151. Altitude, we were cleared up to 35,000 feet, so you'd set this to 35,000 feet. I'm not going to go all the way there because it's going to take me forever. So let's say we're cleared up to 20,000. There we go. And then you can set your heading and your course to your takeoff runway. I think we're going 30. On this one, won't we? 30. Swing these on to 30. Swing this on to 30. Flight directors come on. Auto throttle can come on. And because the ILS is aligned, this is all set up properly. If I click VNAV and LNAV, those lights will come on as well. They won't do anything until I hit CMD on the autopilot A side. When I do that, that's when the plane will start to fly itself. But I can turn these on and off as I need them. And that's it, guys. That's how you get the FMC up and running on the Zibo 737-800. If you want more videos like this, please let me know. And I'll create videos on how to actually fly with the FMC. So I'll take you from start to finish, talking through exactly what I do with each one. So if you do want to see more videos like this, please leave a comment in the comment box below. Hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well. But until next time, my name is SamC23, and I will see you again next time. Thank you very much for watching.